Most of us want to show up for the people we care about, and many of us do. But somewhere along the way, showing up stopped feeling right and started feeling really heavy. This conversation is about being there for others without losing yourself. It's about setting limits that actually protect you and what it takes to heal without hiding. And we're doing that with my man, Zak Hazlett. Zach is a licensed professional counselor in Colorado who specializes in outdoor therapy and works with men navigating trauma, relationships, and what it means to heal in connection with others and with nature. So I'm about to hop on with Zach right now. I've got some questions for him that I'm really excited to ask him, and I'm excited to come in here and hop on and speak with him with you guys. You know, I got my coffee here ready to go. Got my good old cappuccino. If you don't have your coffee, or if you want some good coffee beans, make sure you check out the link in the description with so you can see my beans that I made myself called the Harmony Blend. Yeah, and check it out. These beans are going to a great cause that I think you would love. On top of them being, I'm going to say, the best beans you probably ever had. So make sure you check that out, and let's hop on with Zach. And it's always great, like when you are able to speak with someone who, you know, if you meet them in person, they're the same person who they are online, which I think is really difficult to do. I think it's really hard to measure. You know what I'm saying? Because I think people nowadays with social media are really um, good at acting to give off this persona of someone that they're not. And I think that when you see consistency over time, like I think that you've been doing, and I would say that I've been doing, just shows that like we're human beings trying to figure it out. And I think
Yep.
that using our life experiences to share is it's a beautiful thing. And that's why I love your work, man. Just like the things that you share, um, I know come from in here. And it comes from your desire to see what you hope the world to be and also what you want your world to be internally. And it's such a beautiful thing, man. So thank you for
I
everything
appreciate
that
it.
you share and the work that you do.
I appreciate it. Well, cool, man.
Of course,
I'm excited to jump in and chat more.
the first thing I want to talk about with you is this idea of kindness. I think kindness is such a, as weird as it sounds, it's complicated. So for someone like me who grew up, I'm from LA. I grew up in a very hostile environment where survival was the key, and to survive means you know most of the time have to be vicious and judgmental and watch your watch your back and all these things, and to be kind is so foreign. And I think kindness like that, with that meter of kindness, I kind of think about like when you play 2K, it's like you have like your speed, your strength, and all these things, and like your meter is up depending on like the experience that you have.
Yeah, totally.
Um, why does being a kind person so often lead to exhaustion instead of fulfillment? Because I think that's one of the reasons why being kind is even hard, because of how exhausting it feels to put out that energy to be kind.
That's a great question. I think something that we get caught up in is, and lots of people talk about this, but the difference between being kind and being nice.
Mm,
Nice is what lots prefer to as performative kindness. You're doing it to maintain some sort of image and feel better about yourself. Whereas
mm-hmm,
kindness itself comes from a place of genuine care, comes from a place of curiosity, a desire to
mm,
understand and empathize with people and get to know them. And when you're performing, it's just like anything. If you're performing, if you're in an event or a game or something, you are exhausted at the end because you're at a high level of emotional and physical energy expansion. And with
mm-hmm,
kindness, it's just a baseline, even keel way of being. And that's something that
mm-hmm,
I think we forget and we don't realize is kindness is something that someone is as a person. Nice is something that people perform. So going back to your original question,
mm.
um, when you're doing something with the intention of showing something about yourself or trying to convince someone of something, then it's performative, plain and simple. But if you're doing it from a place of, I care about this human, I'm going to give to them, I'm going to offer them something, then you actually get something in return because that person feels it and then they are able to give back to you.
Do you think that people are capable of receiving kindness even when you're the person giving it?
Yeah, I think it's hard for people. Like if I were to
Mm,
compliment, brother, you got like the smoothest voice and just such a soft energy coming from you. It's like,
mm-hmm.
that feels good. And you've probably done the
Yeah.
work to be able to accept that. But like the
Mm-hmm.
kindness in your eyes, it's like when we compliment something about someone, it feels uncomfortable if we don't believe it fully about ourselves. And so
Mm,
people,
mm,
if they feel like they're not good enough, if they feel like they don't deserve love and they receive love, they're unable to actually accept it. And that's
mm-hmm.
something really, really hard to acknowledge and realize about yourself. Oh, the reason I can't accept this compliment is because I don't believe it inside myself.
Mm. So kindness starts with being kind to yourself. And the hope is that we all have the tools to be able to be kind to ourselves, would you say?
Yeah,
To
I think,
someone who to someone who feel like they don't know how to be kind to themselves because of their upbringing, the parents that they've had, the environment that they grew up in, what can they do to find the tools to even attempt at being kind for themselves, kind to themselves?
yeah, that's a good question. And I would say, just like anything you're trying to accomplish, it's going to be difficult. Anything worth doing is going to be hard. And it starts very simple. I've found that in my own personal life, even most like we talked about in the beginning, most everything that I share, most everything that I do, the reason I am the way I am is because I've needed that same encouragement, that same advice, that same
Mm-hmm.
love in my own life at times.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, I served other people and loved other people in pursuit of that validation and
Mm-hmm.
never really gave it to myself. I would compliment
Mm-hmm.
every single other person I saw, but never compliment myself. I would hype people up and I would love and give to others, but I would never give to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the acknowledgement of you have to fill your own cup in order to fill the cup of others is a huge step. Where if you're running on empty all the time, then you're only going to have this much to give, and then you're going to feel depleted. And if nobody's giving back to you, you're also going to feel depleted because nobody's filling your cup while you're
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously giving to other people. So learning to, and I love this quote. I was just talking to a friend about this quote actually yesterday. Boundaries are the distance at which you can love yourself and love them simultaneously. So if you don't have boundaries, you're loving and loving and loving and depleting yourself of all love and energy because you give and
Mm-hmm.
give and give and give and get nothing in return. But when you have some boundaries, it's I care about you and I'm going to give when I can. And if you are unable to give back to me, I'm going to remove myself from the situation until I can get to a good spot. Or I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
take care of myself until I can find people who are willing to also give back to me.
Mm-hmm. I think what's so fascinating, and I love when you talk about boundaries because I think it's such a, especially for men, it's such a taboo thing to have boundaries that aren't like calculated. I think it's easy for a man to have boundaries and be like, don't do this or else. It's like, well, that's not really a boundary. I think you're trying to protect yourself. I think trying to protect
Mm-hmm.
yourself and having a boundary are two different things. What do you notice about people who are kind on the outside but resentful on the inside? Because I think a lot of the times this stuff is stirring up internally, but they're kind presenting out here. So what is somebody who is becoming resentful because they're not getting that love back? Like, what do you notice about people like that?
That's a good question. There's a lot of different things to notice about that. I work as a therapist with couples. Oftentimes, that's the demographic that I'm with. And resentment happens when there's a lack of understanding or a lack of reciprocity, right? They're giving but not getting in return. Oftentimes, that's because there's not clear communication about what they need. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. That's why it's a little bit of a hard question here. But in
Mm,
general, in general, there's a difference between expectations and boundaries, and that's something that we don't think about or talk about enough.
mm,
Expectations are, I need you to do this or else. Like that's what you were just talking about.
mm-hmm,
That's something you put on someone else so that they behave a certain way or do something. That's an expectation. Those are really
mm-hmm,
difficult because when you give someone else an expectation and you expect them to do it the way you would, you will always be disappointed. And that's
Mm.
where boundaries are so important, and those are different. That's the opposite, where if a behavior continues, I'm going to do something. I'm not going to expect you to do anything different. I'm just going to remove myself from it. If we can't get to a place where the conversation is more gentle and there's less anger, then I'm going to take a break. I'm going to take a step away and we can come back and talk about it later. That's a boundary. You need to lower your
Mm-hmm.
tone or I'm not going to talk to you anymore. That's an expectation and that's a demand, and that brings up defensiveness. And yes, you're being clear on what you want to happen and what you need to happen, but the way that we put those things out, one requires someone to do something, the other lets them know what we're going to do.
Oh man, that's beautifully articulated. One thing that's coming up in my mind is I think we don't understand the responsibility it takes to actually have a boundary that is thought through in every kind of way that it needs to, and then having the skill to be able to articulate that boundary based on all the things that you've thought about. Can you talk to us about how someone goes about how to create a boundary that is well thought through?
Yeah. Um, Let me think for a second. I think that there's kind of three parts to this. Number one, awareness of what's going on in the relationship dynamic, whether it's romantic or friendship or family or whatever. Awareness
Mm-hmm.
of behaviors on their end and also behaviors on your own end. So awareness being number one. Number two, the ability to know what you actually want. I think that's the
Mm.
hard part, is what do you actually want to happen in this
Yeah.
conversation? Most people go into a
Mm.
conversation heated and they want to prove their point or defend themselves or whatever it may be. But what are you hoping to get out of it, or where's the place you want to land afterwards? If you don't have that in
Mm.
mind, it's like trying to get somewhere without the destination being on the map.
Mm.
We're going to take turns and back and forth and all the different things because we have no direction. So
Mm.
having a direction of where you want to go. And then accountability. I think accountability is the greatest gift that you can give yourself. And for anyone listening, it's not, owning your mistakes is not weakness. Owning up to what you have done or a pattern of behavior you're continuing to do, even if someone feels like they're attacking you for it, the greatest thing you can do if you actually care about them and yourself is take a deep introspective look at, okay, what role am I playing in this situation, right?
Mm.
Because if
Mm.
if you just knuckle down and fight back and double down on whatever you're feeling, there's no growth in that, right?
Mm.
So awareness, direction, and accountability are three really powerful things to think about as you're trying to come up with boundaries and better your relationship.
Mm-hmm. What's so interesting about accountability, I think accountability has such a negative connotation to it. And I think as athletes, former athletes, we
Yeah, yeah.
know what accountability, how important it is for the betterment of the team, for you to be accountable for your actions, the thing that you did wrong, whether you missed the shot or dropped the pass, whatever it is. And I think you build a healthy relationship with accountability that can kind of turn toxic because accountability is something that you're kind of measured by when you play sports. And I think when you're in relationships and when you're in real life, to have accountability to yourself is really, really difficult because I think with accountability comes shame and guilt. How does somebody navigate how to have a good relationship with accountability, knowing that shame and guilt do play a big role in the beginning, to get comfortable with accountability for you to have thriving, healthy, fruitful relationships with yourself and with others?
Yeah, totally. I love this question because for a long time I was so anti. I grew up in like a really religious structure that was had a lot of shame and guilt within it, at least
Mm.
built into how I grew up and I felt that
Mm-hmm.
way. And for a while I went to the one extreme of shame and guilt are terrible. They are the worst. They never, you'll never change from shame and guilt,
Mm-hmm.
because I needed to swing to that end of the pendulum in order to come back to a middle ground of no, shame and guilt are natural emotions and feelings that help us to recognize places we can improve.
Mm-hmm.
Guilt, places we've hurt other people usually, or done something that hurts other people. Um, and that is really important in relationships, especially. If you don't feel guilty when your actions have hurt someone else, then we've got some issues. We gotta
Yeah.
figure out what's going on there, right? And then the
Mm-hmm.
shame one, that 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 is what I see as places where we can build our own self-worth and our own self-confidence. So it's showing that when you
Mm-hmm.
feel shame about something, that shows you a weak point in your own armor, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to recognize, okay, I felt shame about this thing. I need to be more kind to myself. I need to be, more complimentary towards what I'm doing and have a little more grace for myself. And then going back to the guilt thing, okay, I need to recognize that action that I did that hurt someone, and that feeling I have isn't because I'm a terrible person. It's because I'm a human that makes mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to learn from that so that I don't repeat that behavior.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful, bro. I think what's so fascinating about just being a human being is, I heard a quote. It takes a lifetime to learn how to live, and I love that quote because it's just so true. And I think a good place to start for me in my adult life was realizing that feelings are actually here to help me navigate life, and they're not here to make me feel bad about life. I think it's really easy to feel the negative, to see feelings as negative, and not, and even though they feel terrible, the reason why they make you feel terrible because there's a positive thing on the other side. If we're able to know that this feeling is here for a reason, and it's giving us signals to get to the other side. Do you believe that to be true in your experience, in your own life, and speaking, and in your work, and going out into nature and everything? That getting comfortable with feelings is the key to a lot of things.
Absolutely. And dude, I'm sure you relate to this. Athlete world, robot mode. Like
Yeah.
you have to go killer instincts at time, and channel that inner, like, robot basically, and not let anything phase you. You've got chance, you've
Mm-hmm.
got people on the internet saying stuff, you've got all sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I went through a phase where I didn't really let myself, I felt a ton growing up, and then felt like that was weakness. I had learned that that meant something about me, that I wasn't strong or I wasn't good enough, or
Mm-hmm.
I related it to a lot of stuff. So then I went into robot mode and hyper performance, David Goggins, just incredibly routine, never missed a day at the gym, never missed a day of reading, writing, journaling. Like, it was crazy. And was I happier? No, right? I had this false sense of security and control over my life, but I was so disconnected from everyone else and everything that actually mattered because I wasn't allowing my emotions to let me feel seen. There's this idea or concept you've probably heard of, where what is it that brings people together? And it's shared experiences. But I go a little bit deeper in that. What is it about a shared experience that really brings people together? And it's the emotions you
Mm-hmm.
share. So if
Mm-hmm.
we're out on the, court together, or field, or we're playing a sport, we're going to have highs and lows together. So we have this
Mm-hmm.
bonded, like, brotherhood because of that experience. We felt those emotions. But
Mm-hmm.
if we don't allow ourselves to feel emotions in relationships and in family and in other dynamics where we're trying to have connection with people, and we're just kind of robot mode, we can't connect, because those emotions, every time we share something with someone, it's like this anchor point that attaches you and me. And the
Mm-hmm.
more we share emotions, the more anchor points we have, the more connected we are. That's why in a lot of relationships, and I think a lot of people listening to this will resonate here, we find the security in the physical relationship that we have, maybe like the sexual relationship, because it feels connecting. We feel emotions, we feel pleasure, we feel good. And every other part of that relationship might feel rocky. And so that becomes the make it or break it. If that's good, then the rest of the relationship feels good. But that's
Mm,
not a healthy thing, because we have to have many different anchor points, and emotions are required. They are absolutely necessary to create those anchor points. So if you're unable to let yourself feel that emotion and share it with a partner, with a friend, we're we're doing ourselves a disservice because we're not allowing anchor points to be formed.
mm. Drop the mic, bro. I never even thought of it that way. Like, it's funny because when you think about physical intimacy, it's very like, I mean, it's like I mean, we keep going back to sports, but it's very like practical. It's like it's an action, you can do it, and there isn't much outward work that needs to happen for that action to happen to feel good. I think it's the same
Mm-hmm.
reason why people get addicted to drugs, because it's an actionable thing to feel better instantly. And now you're hooked and you rely on that thing because a lot of addicts say they want to numb the pain. They don't want to think about the thing that happened to them when they were a kid or in their past relationship or when they lost their job or whatever it is. And I think these anchor points, I would love for you to speak on how to become comfortable with building anchor points with your feelings so you can be a well-rounded human being for yourself and for the relationships that you have. If you can speak to that, because I think it's super important to really understand.
Yeah. I think it's if you're naturally, I mean, for you and I, we can talk about this. We've done a lot of work, and we've had these conversations, and we've gotten to a place where we're
Mm,
aware of that. I think the awareness is the hardest part for a lot of people. Oh,
mm,
becoming aware that you need to feel those things more, because criticism is often the only time someone's pointing out that they need to do better. I need you to share with me how you're feeling. I need you to let me know what's going on for you. It's an ultimatum, it's a requirement. It makes you feel like you're not good enough. And when
mm,
that's the approach, it's really tough to want to open up because you're feeling criticized. So figuring out the awareness of, okay, I need to find this on my own. I need to learn how to feel this on my own. I don't
mm,
not wait until someone is making me or forcing me or wanting me or needing me to feel it. That's that's the biggest hurdle to get started. And then once the
mm.
momentum's rolling, feeling that and talking about it. I know it's a weird thing that we don't talk about a ton with buddies in general, but for guys especially, finding moments to let yourself share some of those emotions and be frustrated, be upset, be sad, be angry with each other, and not just from a place of, and this is where I get a little bit, I'll how do I say this? I will challenge people often when this comes up, where it's easy to get with your people and start blaming the situation and the circumstances and what's
Mm-hmm,
happening, and just be like, oh,
mm-hmm.
dude, my wife, like, she's just been harping on me and I just can't catch a break, and it feels like nothing I do is good enough. And you just kind of bag on the partners.
Yeah.
What really needs to happen there, what really needs to happen there is a little deepening of, what do you feel like the harping and the bagging on you, what are you feeling about that? How does that make you feel about yourself? And that's a very
Mm,
therapist coded question, but as guys, like, we can create an opportunity for other people to open up, and our friends to open up and share those things. Does it make you feel like a bad husband? Do you feel like a failure? What are you feeling? What's going on for you?
mm-hmm,
And then leaning
mm-hmm,
away from the blame and leaning into the feeling, and just sharing that. And then the reassurance, validation and reassurance are actually very, very necessary. I think a lot of people push away and they're like, oh, you can't seek validation because that will keep you stuck. I'm like, yeah, if that's the only thing you ever are seeking is external validation, then that's going to be tough. But
mm-hmm,
validating someone's experience, reassuring them that they are a good partner, letting them know, hey, you're allowed to make mistakes as a husband. That's okay. You know, what are you going to do from this point forward? What do you want to work on? What do you want to do different? How can I help support you in
mm-hmm,
that? Like, those are pretty
mm-hmm,
basic, simple questions that people just don't really, we're not used to it. It's always just like, yeah, dude, I got you. Like, don't worry about it.
mm-hmm,
It's all good.
mm-hmm.
it's not all good. If we
Yeah.
dismiss the fact
Yeah.
that something is wrong, it's not all good. But I like the phrase. I kind of shifted to it's not all good because I used to say it all the time. I'm like, yeah, don't worry, it's all good. Somebody would
Yeah.
wrong me or say something and I'd apologize and be like, it's all good.
That's
I'm like,
cool. Yeah.
whatever, that's
Hmm.
cool. And I
Hmm.
switched to that's not it's not all good, but it's all getting good. And I'm gonna get to a good
Mm.
place with it.
Mm. I mean, that's easier said than done. Like, I'm not saying that you're saying that we're gonna go out here and do this. I just know that that's really, really hard to do. Because again, going back to that criticism piece, I think we all feel like we're being criticized when we're actually being seen for what we know is like a problem, but we don't want to be seen. It's kind of our own thing, and then it really gets uncomfortable when it's being touched, and you don't even know exactly what it is, but it doesn't make you feel good. So when I think about when you said we should get comfortable with criticism with ourselves before other people do it, how does someone practically do that and feel good going into that space with themselves? Because like
Mm,
I think to self criticize is like can be dangerous to a large degree if you don't know what you're doing when you go in there. It kind of reminds me
yeah,
like when you go and you watch film. Like you're going to criticize like if you had a good practice or not. And if you had a bad practice, it's like once the practice is over and the film is over, you go home, it's like, well, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna wallow or are you gonna be like, no, I gotta get better and
yeah.
be okay with that because my coach saw that I did terrible and my teammates and the people online and the crowd. So how does someone get comfortable with self criticizing if that's even the right term to use?
That's a good question. Um, Perspective. First thing that comes to mind is perspective, and these are all easier said than done. Like everything
Mm-hmm.
a podcast, Instagram clips, even books we read.
Yeah.
Obviously, everything is going to be easier and sound
Mm-hmm.
better than it actually is to do it. It's nitty gritty and it's
Mm-hmm.
brutal to do the work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there's this quote that says, "I never lose. I either win or I learn." And that's life, man. Like life is one big learning experience. And when
Mm-hmm.
you look at something as uh, either a win or a loss, a success or a failure, and everything is either a success or a failure, then you're gonna feel disappointed a lot of the time. But when you look at it
Mm-hmm.
as either a success or a learning moment, like I won, I did it, I accomplished it, or I've still got some work to do, and now I know better what I can work on and what I can do. You stop taking things so personally because you realize that you are able to grow. You have no obligation to stay the same tomorrow as you are
Mm-hmm.
today.
Mm-hmm.
You can right after this conversation, you could take something that you've been wanting to do and you could go out and do it. And you could go out and change
Mm-hmm.
it. But you have to look at it instead of a failure, I'm not good enough to do this, as I have everything inside me that makes me capable of doing this. And there's no
Mm-hmm.
reason. The only thing holding me back is myself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a mindset thing. Some with anxiety and depression and other mental health stuff that comes up, it's a lot harder because we're a lot deeper into the feelings and we feel less capable of getting out there. And that's where I'll say starting very, very small with those things, journaling about it,
Mm-hmm.
writing about it, becoming more aware about it. Maybe don't make a move yet. Don't do anything about it yet, but at least figure out the awareness piece. That very first part,
Mm-hmm.
the awareness piece.
How do you stay soft-hearted while also being firm about your limits when it comes to this? Like you can only do so much and you have to be gentle with yourself at the same time, but also do the work at the same time. So how do you stay soft-hearted when you know that you're like you kind of have a limit with your emotional capacity to a large degree?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say just remembering that any step is better than no step at all. And so you can be hard hearted, the David Goggins approach, like we said, where you miss one day and you're soft and you
Mm,
can't do it and you're pathetic. And, that drives some
mm-hmm.
people. That drives some people to motivate them and to change because maybe they need a little bit more of that approach. But I think in general, most people just need momentum and consistency.
Mm,
And that allows you to be motivated and hard enough on yourself of like, okay, I need to push through this. I need to do this. I'm going to make it happen. And also give yourself enough space to, if you miss a day going to the gym, you don't just collapse and self-destruct because you had a 75 hard goal that you now failed, right? It's like, well, I can't, I 30 days in, I failed. So I can't do 75 hard because I already failed one day of the 75, right? If you have
Hmm.
that absolute way of thinking, the mindset that is all or nothing, then it's not realistic for hardly anyone. There's very few people that are successfully going to do that and have that be a healthy way to do it. But when you have the idea of, I'm going to do something every day to move my body, and you make that a goal, then maybe you go to the gym most every day, but some of the days you just go
Hmm.
for a little walk, and that still is accomplishing your goal. You're still following through, and you have a little room for the nuance of things that being human requires.
Hmm. That's what's so unfortunate about, I think, the stuff online and even like to movies to a large degree is that we're kind of built to be these superheroes that go to the gym 7 times a day or don't get tired and you don't need sleep and all these things. And it's just not true. I think even as, when you leave sports and then you go into regular life and you still are living like with a sports kind of mindset, I think it's for a lot of guys or anybody who plays sports kind of go into like this depressive state of like what's like why is life actually this difficult? You know what I'm saying? Like, and why am I this hard on myself when it seems like everybody else doesn't seem to be working as hard as me or want to get as hard as me? And if I don't show up the way that I did prior, am I just like them? Is it bad that I'm just like them? There's all these things that you're just trying to figure out when you go into regular life. And I think sitting with yourself kind of in that, you know, I feel like this is not the right term, but that self criticism is the way to be able to live a full human life with emotion and letting those emotions like navigate you. Would you say?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's the culture we live in, man, is just crazy too. The performance culture, the fast-paced, high, if you're not making X amount of money a year, then what are you even doing with your
Mm-hmm.
life? The comparison of beauty standards on social media, relationships, what they should look like based on Hollywood, based on what people are portraying in their cute little couple accounts on Instagram, and like,
Mm-hmm.
7 dates we did this week and whatever. It's like, man, I haven't gone on a date for 3 months. It's like, so
Yeah.
people are gonna criticize themselves and just look for all the bad. And we're not meant for that, man. We're not meant to be constantly comparing ourselves to everyone else. That's not what our body was designed for with social media. And so the self-criticism does, kind of like we've been saying, it does tap into a little bit of that shame, a little bit of that guilt that then can drive us. But if that shame and guilt overpowers the drive that we're feeling, then we're not going to get anywhere. And so you got to be able to recognize that and take a step back and be like, I got to sign off. Like if I'm following these people and they're constantly making me feel bad about myself, we are what we eat, like what we
Mm-hmm.
consume is what we become. And so if we're always consuming things that make us feel bad and feel less than and feel like we're not good enough, we gotta recognize that and do something about it. So I always
Mm-hmm.
encourage people, like once a month I probably post on my story or something or send out a little message saying, hey guys, remember social media is media. It's meant to consume. It's meant to add value to your life. And so if it's not, if you're feeling like you're not a good person or not good enough or not doing enough, unfollow it. You have no obligation
Mm-hmm.
to these people, these influencer people that you follow that you feel like you have a relationship with, and so you owe them. You like, I can't unfollow them because they responded to me one time. No, if they're not,
Mm-hmm.
if they're making you, if something is happening and they're making you feel bad about yourself, you owe yourself two things. One, take some accountability and see if that is bringing something up because you have some work to do,
Mm-hmm.
or is it something that they have a life that you want and that you're never gonna have probably, so you feel bad. And if that's the case,
Mm-hmm.
we don't need that. There's no time for that.
Mm-hmm. Where do you think comparison comes from and how does someone overcome it?
Yeah. I mean, comparison is the most natural and probably long lasting slash our whole lives. We've always had that. From the time we're little, we're
Mm-hmm.
looking at people and we are
Mm-hmm.
not comparison, comparing. Um, that does sound like a fun word though. No, we're
Mm-hmm.
comparing ourselves to people because it's a biological and evolutionary thing. Like we naturally
Mm-hmm.
have to size ourselves up to people because it could be a threat. You know, when we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing someone,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on? If someone, I mean, I think of when I was little, one of my friends, when we first met, we were little kids. I don't remember this. My parents have told the story, but stood up, walk over to each other. We're little toddlers, can't even really talk. Boom, pushes
Mm-hmm.
me down. I get back up, push him down. We both kind of cry. We come back together. We realize, okay, we can do that. We're capable of doing that to each other. Neither of us liked that. Let's not
Mm-hmm.
do that to each other.
Mm-hmm.
A friendship was born out of that. Kind of crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
we
Yeah.
have this weird need to compare ourselves to people because we feel threatened if we are perceiving ourselves as less than or not as strong as. So it's
Mm-hmm.
natural and it's biological. It's happened since we were, you know, thousands of years. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot that is cultural. And that's the part
Mm-hmm.
we can control, where
Mm-hmm.
the biological need to live, to find food, to provide for ourselves and the people we love around us, that is absolutely necessary. To look as good as everyone on the internet, to be as strong and fit as everyone on the internet, to have the life that everyone else on the internet has, those are not biological necessities. Those are cultural expectations that are put
Mm-hmm.
on us that frankly take away probably 90% of our attention and our bandwidth to do all the other
Mm-hmm.
things. So getting back to the basics, have I drank water today? Am I getting enough sleep? Have I hugged the people that I am closest to? Have I told them that I love them? Have I asked how I can help better be in support of them rather than being over here posting Instagram videos to try and get some likes to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that we feel good enough, or
Mm-hmm.
commenting or messaging people that are more successful than we are in hopes that they give us a response, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're
Mm-hmm.
exerting all this energy for what? Like what do we actually get from that?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. There's no
Yeah.
real deep connection there.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting talking about connection and like I love hearing you speak about healing in like connection and not isolation. And I think that for a lot of people, I think people feel connected online because they see people who portray these ideal lives or relationships or goals that they want. And a lot of the times where you get off of that, you feel alone. And that's why I think it's so addicting because you go back and you get to like see that ideal life and see that ideal self. Um, how does how does someone balance healing themselves, feeling connected outside of social media and not isolating themselves when they're off of it and getting actually into the world? Like people, it's easy to say like go touch some grass, you know what I mean? I can't
Yeah.
touch grass in Minnesota because there's ice on the grass right now. But like how does someone do that, like healing connection and not isolation, and navigate that in the world of social media and ideal selves online?
No, I think that's a great question. I think it's important to remember that one, connection is an action word. Connection
Mm,
requires doing something. We can't just sit back and expect ourselves to connect with people. Everyone's always like, where do I find these friends? How can I find these people? There are so many people in this world that are literally hoping and praying to find someone just like you, just like me, someone that wants to be friends, that feels lonely, that feels isolated. And so going out and putting yourself in places where you can make connection, right? If we had no other, like if phones were gone, and I always joked about this, the world needs more kindness, the world needs more boundaries, and the world needs more kickball tournaments.
mm,
And I
mm,
say that because it goes back to the basics of, back in the day when we played little league baseball,
mm-hmm,
kickball, whatever, no
mm-hmm,
phones, no anything, everybody's chatting and talking and cheering people on and connecting. And afterwards, we don't go home and sit on our phone or go watch Netflix. It's like, hey, you guys want to go get dinner? Great, let's go do
Mm-hmm.
it. And then from
Mm-hmm.
there, you make a little friendship. And then it's like, hey, the game next week, maybe we could do a little lunch before. Are you in? Yeah, let's do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not as hard as we think it is, but it is difficult to do because we have to set one thing aside to do the other thing. What is it that actually is going to add value to our life? The harder thing, to going out and putting ourselves
Mm-hmm.
out there. And once again, that's easier said than done, especially with the anxiety that brings up of, I don't know if I could do this. I like, but you are physically capable of doing it. It's the mental mind block of actually going out there. So starting simple. If you like to read books, I always say this, if you like to read, go to a library and then sit on the little couch thing, read a book there, leave your
Mm-hmm.
phone turned off. Maybe you're going to see someone else that's reading a similar book. You say, "Hey, what did you think of that book?" That's the most soft startup ever. You're in a library reading books. You see a similar book or someone that has a book that you've read before. Ask them what they think about it. Context there, way easier than going up to someone
Mm-hmm.
that you think's like cool in the airport, right?
Mm-hmm.
With their headphones on,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't want to talk to anyone. So
Mm-hmm.
putting yourself in places where you can make connection with people, going to the gym. Like, I know the gym's a weird place to talk to people sometimes, but when you get enough reps at the gym and you're doing it for you and you start to like see people consistently
Mm-hmm.
and they see you consistently and you wave to them and fist bump every once in a while, but you still have never talked to them. Eventually you talk to them and you have a friend, and then you have a
Mm-hmm.
spotter, and then you have somebody that now you're starting to go to the gym together, and
Mm-hmm.
you realize both of you were alone. Both of you wanted someone to go to the gym with, and you, because you put yourself out there and you did it yourself, you found people to do it with you, and then it becomes easier and
Mm-hmm.
easier. And that's a like collateral process that continues
Mm-hmm.
to happen, and there's kind of this chain reaction of community building. But when we constantly escape into the easy thing, the isolation, we can't expect to build community while intentionally isolating.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I think it's fascinating that you say that, because like starting off the podcast, we talked about kindness, and I think being kind with yourself allows you to have the courage to go and be kind to someone at the gym, or to be kind to somebody at the library, because you're kind with yourself. And I think being kind with yourself allows you to put yourself out there because you know what you're doing has good intention. It's not to get something out of someone. It's not really even to get something for yourself. It's like what I think you do so beautifully, man. It's like we're all in this together and we're all trying to figure it out and we all want to be kind, but life doesn't really allow us to be kind. We have to like condition ourselves to be kind and to not isolate ourselves and to put ourselves in positions to to some degree be hurt by putting ourselves out there and being different, by being able to feel and then allowing those feelings to have us go out into the world and attempt to try to connect with people. Even just like you talk a lot about awareness, like once you are aware and now you're aware that you're about to attempt, and now if you attempt you're aware that you can get hurt, it's like that is a lot. And to go out and do that takes a lot of courage, because you're allowing yourself to be hurt. And not
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, I want to go out there, I want you to hurt me. It's like, no, my feelings are on my sleeve for real. And I'm okay with that. How does someone actually be okay with wearing their feelings on their sleeve when they're aware of what they're actually feeling?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's this quote that I love, and it's the wrong people will show you that you can do it by yourself, and the right people will show you that you don't have to. And that's a huge one. The reason we go deep within ourselves and retreat and isolate is because we've been hurt. It's because we've put ourselves out there to the wrong people and they have not treated us well. And that's scary and that's hard. And so the idea of doing that again and getting that same result is going to be
Mm-hmm.
scary and daunting.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you can recognize that, that doesn't mean just because they weren't able to love you, like their inability to love you has nothing to do with your ability to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And the right people, as you continue to put yourself out there, will find you and love you the way that you need to be. And that's the hard part. I think if we're hurt in a relationship, and there's a lot of research to support this, but if we have been hurt in a relationship, we can do a certain amount of healing alone, but we also have to heal in a relationship. And
Mm,
experiencing something and getting a different result is exactly how that healing happens. And in order to
mm.
experience something and get a different result, we have to put ourselves out there again. And we have to push against that fear.
What does it look like to heal in a relationship?
Oh, that's a great question. What does it look like to heal in a relationship? Healing in a relationship is allowing yourself to lean into the things. Oftentimes, a healthy relationship will trigger you the most because you're like, wait a second, this feels safe, but I don't get safety in a relationship. This feels
Mm,
like love, but nobody can love me. And so healing in a relationship is pushing against those internal beliefs that we've built up because of how we've been treated in the past and letting yourself be seen and loved and actually accepting it. So the internal work, like we talked about, is doing the work to believe that you're worth loving so that when someone is trying to love you, you'll be able to let them. And I think that's a
mm,
fundamental piece that we have to remember. You have to learn to love yourself so that when people are trying to love you, you'll be able to let them in.
mm. So, what does it look like when someone mistakes isolation for self care if they're not in a relationship?
Oh, that's a great question. I think there is a huge difference between self care and coping, right? So we have coping is when your nervous system is dysregulated and you're just struggling to feel anything and you're kind of going crazy. You feel like you're going crazy. You do something to cope to get back to a baseline of, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. And then once you're back to that little baseline, that's when you have to do the work to grow. And self care and coping mechanisms can look really similar, right?
Mm,
But one is to get back to a good spot, and one is to go from that spot and grow forward. And so,
mm,
once again, the awareness. What does that look like for me? What are my coping mechanisms? What are my knee jerk reactions when I feel triggered or feel stressed or feel whatever I'm feeling? What do I go to? Right? Do I
mm,
binge watch a show? Do I eat food? Do I isolate and just read a book and go into a fantasy world? What are my coping mechanisms? And what are my things that I want to do as self care that is intentional, that is grounding, that is actually building and healing rather than just coping?
mm. So, it's funny. I keep going back between like being by yourself and being in a relationship because I feel like we need to understand both. And I'm like how do you talk to like how do you talk about your patterns with a partner so they can support you through them when you see the patterns, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And it's a little different for everyone, but there's science behind it, and there are some patterned behaviors that make it easier. But it all comes down to, once again, that ability to see in my relationship, being able to share exactly what I'm feeling and know that criticism is not going to happen, rather compassion and understanding is going to happen. That's huge because I know that whatever I bring to the table, whatever I bring to that conversation, I'm not going to get attacked for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be seen. I'm going to be understood with compassion, like I said, and creating that space for your partner also so that when they bring those things to you, they feel safe. Like everybody wants, I call it the three S's of healthy relationships. They want to feel safe, they want to feel seen, and they want to feel supported. And if someone can feel safe, seen, and supported, then they will be able to grow with you. And at the end of the day, every relationship,
Mm-hmm.
all we really want is to grow together. And that's, I would say that's kind of the definition of a relationship is two people who are willing to grow together.
So I keep going back before between like relationships and then being I mean relationship with yourself. Like you are in a relationship with yourself. I think that's important to even recognize that you're never really by yourself, and whether it's relationship with yourself or relationship with like your who you worship or religion or creator, whatever it is. I'm thinking like, how do you rebuild trust in a relationship after you've been hurt or shut down?
success in a relationship, the Gottmans, so John and Julie Gottman, they're like
Hmm.
the
The
wizards
goats.
of relationship, the goats will
Yeah.
say.
Mhm.
Um, Success in a relationship, they say, is not based off of how often or how little you argue or have ruptures in the relationship or breaches in the trust. It's your ability to repair
Repair.
after that.
Hmm.
And for anyone listening, just look up rupture and repair Gottman, whatever, and you can Google it, and there's tons of good information. But the ability to repair, and I think of this in the context of my own relationship, but also sports and family and coaching and
Hmm.
friendships and all of this. It's ultimately, do they want to grow with you? And are they able to acknowledge that? Because so many people just give up on the relationship after something happens. And I
Mm.
won't say you have to get like if both people aren't willing to work, then it rarely will work out. But if both people are willing to work, kind of no matter what's happened, you have the ability to get there because you just want, yeah, I'm going to say this better. You have the ability to get there because you can grow together. And in order to do that, you have to lay it out on the table. I mean, imagine you have this table visual in front of you. You can't hide anything because that thing that you
Mm.
hide is going to come up later and be a betrayal. You have to lay it all out on the table and risk being fully seen for all those things and know that you might get a little criticism because what you did was hurtful and that's warranted, and digging deep and knowing that as a human you're going to make those mistakes, and a mistake only remains a mistake if you refuse to correct it, right? Mistakes are human,
Mm.
they happen. Patterns of behavior, that's not okay. That's manipulation. If you continue in a pattern of behavior, then you know what you're doing and you know what you're
Mm.
doing is impacting someone. That's not okay. But if you acknowledge your mistake, recognize that pattern, break the pattern, let them know what you're willing to do to work on it, showing consistent effort over time, that's going to lead to repair because they're going to
Mm.
trust that your words and your actions align, right? Talk is
Mm.
cheap, but those actions, they never lie.
Mm. Mm. Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. I dropped the mic. I wanna end on this. You're the king of quotes. Like you are the king of quotes. But before, I want you to kind of give us some quotes that you've been living by as of late. But man, you shared that quote that one of your followers shared with you about if we were in kindergarten, I would hang my coat next to you. Next to you, Zach, bro. When I watched that, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it. When I listened to you share that and saw how it impacted you, I felt it instantly before you shared how it impacted you. Because I think we're all trying to figure out like what this whole thing is about, you know. And when you go back to that vulnerable state of being a kid at that age, kindergarten, and somebody wants to hang their coat next to you, they see your heart. They see you. And I think that we're all craving that feeling. And for somebody to be able to articulate that to you was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen online by far, man. So I just wanted to say that because like I've never seen a quote touch me the way that that one did because of I knew exactly what the feeling is, and it's almost like even hard to explain what that feeling is. It's something you have to literally just experience because we've all can relate to being a child, putting up your coat, knowing that if somebody puts their coat next to you and they look at you, be like, "We're friends." They don't have to say anything; they just do it, and you know that connection. We're all just feeling that, or we're all just hoping to get that feeling again, whether it's with ourselves or with other people. So I have no idea where I'm going with all this. I just wanted to share that because it was literally one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen online. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, can you talk to why that hit you so much when you
Yeah,
read that?
I would love to. That video continues to be something that I go back to consistently, and I think it resonates with so many people because it's such a real. feeling, tangible feeling. We've all been through that age group. We all understand the sentiment. It just is a universal feeling of, and for those people listening, the comment that I got, the message that I got was on Instagram. Some random follower of mine messaged me and just said, if we had gone to kindergarten together, I would hang my coat next to yours. And that just, it wrecked me. It hit me so hard because the kindness in that message and the fact that someone else was able to see and feel the kindness, going back to where we started today in this conversation of what does kindness mean, the recognition, the realization. I think kindness is realizing that we are all just little kids that are trying to get home, and
Mm,
the people we meet in this life are those that walk with us on that path.
mm,
And sometimes they are helping carry our backpack because we're overloaded. Sometimes they are skipping and laughing to brighten the mood. Sometimes they
mm,
are the ones struggling and we're looking over to them and seeing how we can help carry some of their weight. But ultimately,
mm,
we're all just little kids that are walking each other home.
Yeah, bro. That's beautiful talk. It's beautiful. I don't even want you to name another quote after that. I think we probably should just end on that just because of how good it is. No, is okay. I did want to do this. Is there one, because you are the king of quotes. I think when I go on your page, I'm always scrolling like, what quote Zach got for me today, dog? Like I can like just just like laminate into my mind. Is there one quote that's like really been at the forefront of your mind that you want to leave us with that we can take and try to have it be on the forefront of our mind as well?
I lately there's this one by Winston Churchill that is, um, we make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And that one's been hitting me really hard because I'm out here trying to figure out how to make a buck and like stay afloat. And I mean, I don't do ads or anything on it. I've made $0 on Instagram, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I need to do something, but
Mm-hmm.
I just truly believe that life is so much more impactful when we are finding ways to love and give within capacity, obviously, not depleting ourselves like we talked about with boundaries. But there's another one that I just talked about recently that is your purpose in life is not what you do, but it's what happens in others when you do what you do. And
Mm-hmm.
that one is also just super, super solid because it's just like that video, that I shared. I posted that. Yes. Was it my purpose in life to post that video? No. The purpose is what happens in other people, the millions of people that have
Mm-hmm.
seen that video whose lives were changed because of that. Like that is the purpose. And so when you can attach meaning to what you're doing and recognize the impact you have on other people in this world, that's when everything changes. That's what the world needs
Mm-hmm.
more of. That's what we see in
Mm-hmm.
our world right now. Everyone's so self-interested and self-absorbed. Not everyone. There's a lot of good people in this world. There are a lot of people
Yeah.
that are really doing a lot of good and sharing that kindness. But could you imagine a world where everyone just thought a little more about someone else each day and did one thing, even one thing, to help someone else's life be better, to help lift some of those
Mm-hmm.
burdens? It'd be
Mm-hmm.
a it'd be an exponential change that would be a movement, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what I hope to inspire. I know that's what you're hoping to do as well with these conversations,
Mm-hmm.
is help other people feel empowered, feel educated, feel inspired to go out and do good and
Mm-hmm.
grow.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you can do that intentionally, and it does take work and it is hard. But like you said, anything worth having is hard. And I think that we all want to live a life where we feel good. Back to your three S's, like we all want that. And I think that conversations like this are just little seeds that we're planting to let people know that they are capable, but it's up to you to water it. And watering it is worth it. And once you water, it takes time to grow. And you need grace and you need time and you need people around you. And the hope is that you can do all those things and find those people and being willing to experiment, be willing to be hurt, and also learning how to repair, because that's ultimately what it takes.
Yeah, it's true.
So Yeah. So thanks, bro, for hopping on me. I know it's been a long time coming, but I'm so happy that we got to hop on here and connect. You want to tell the people like where you're at and what you're doing, anything coming up?
Yeah, I mean, just the outdoor therapist on Instagram. I don't have a lot coming up. I run river rafting trips in the summer if people want to come and disconnect from the world for a little bit and spend a few days off the grid and just have a good time, reflect and refocus and reset. That's what I do. So feel free to
I've been
message me
thinking
on that.
about
But
I've been thinking about potentially doing that, bro. But I saw you jumping off of a cliff on a rope. I was like, yeah, if I had to choose one of them, I was like, I don't know which one. I don't know if I'm jumping off of a cliff or if I'm getting in a river. I don't know. I don't know which one I would do.
dude, I'm doing a men's trip June 10th to
Okay.
13th. That's gonna be awesome, and it's just a bunch of fellas together on a rafting trip. We're gonna probably do the rope swing the day before, and then do 4 days on the river, and then maybe go canyoneering the last day. And
Okay.
it's it's awesome. I know it sounds probably a little out of the comfort zone, but but it's gonna be rad, and I'd love to have you. So let me know.
Is there can anybody sign up for that?
Yeah, anybody can sign up. It's on my website. Getoutsidetogether.com is my website. Um, Anybody can sign up.
I mean, that's something you have coming up. I'll definitely put that in
Okay,
the
cool,
link
cool.
under this video because like I'm probably gonna sign up for it depending on like if I'm willing to get that much out of my comfort zone. Like I'm from LA, but I'm kind of a city boy, so like we were used to being in the city. I'm not like I'm from California, you know what I'm saying? So we have mountains, but I wasn't in the
Yeah.
mountains. You know what I'm saying? I was
It's
in the city.
I will say it's like bougie camping. I mean, like we're making steak and salmon and all this
Mm,
stuff, and the meals are
that
incredible. We
sounds
got
great.
cots and pads and sleeping under the stars or in a tent if you want it, but it's unreal. It's beautiful.
Oh,
So,
I mean, I could sign up for that. I don't know about
yeah.
the rope jumping, but like I think the
No,
salmon and the steak,
you
I
don't
could
have to.
sign up for
This
that.
you could get out there to the rope swing. You can come out and hang, and if you're feeling it, then you can do it, but yeah,
Okay.
let's make it happen.
All right, cool, bro. I know we're coming up on time, dude. So I want to say thank you again for hopping on here, bro, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, my friend.